So in this webinar we are going to talk about, सब डिटेल में बात करेंगे हम सब कुछ कि what all will be discussed in today's webinar. Number one, we will talk about your educational qualification, what is required. We will be talking about medicals, कि medical में what all is required to become a pilot. We will talk about the examinations, कि कौन कौन से DG से एग्जाम्स होते हैं, कितना परसेंटेज चाहिए, कितनी पढ़ाई चाहिए उस चीज़ के लिए. आफ्टर दैट विल टॉक अबाउट कि फ्लाइंग एक्सपीरियंस, बेसिकली फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग कौन कौन सी कंट्रीज़ में अच्छी होती है, कौन से कंट्रीज़ को आपको चूज़ करना चाहिए, कितनी फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग होती है, कितना कॉस्ट आता है इन फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग के लिए. ऑल दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस इन टुडेज वेबिनार. आफ्टर दैट विल टॉक अबाउट कि फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग करने के बाद जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ कौन कौन सी एयरलाइन में, कितनी सैलरीज आप अर्न करोगे. विथ इंडियन एविएशन एट द एंड वी विल टॉक अबाउट कि इंडियन एविएशन में नेक्स्ट 5 to 10 ईयर्स में जॉब मार्केट कैसा दिख रहा है. अभी कई लोग बोलते हैं कि जॉब्स बहुत सारी हैं, मेजॉरिटी कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स और फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स वो हमेशा ऐसी रिपोर्ट्स थी पब्लिश करेंगे कि जहाँ पे वो दिखा रहा है कि इंडिया नीड 28,000 पायलट्स इन नेक्स्ट 5 years और 10 years सो दैट दे अट्रैक्ट मोर पीपल. जिनकी जॉब नहीं लग रही है वो हर जगह यही बात बता रहे होंगे कि एविएशन में जॉब्स ही नहीं है, जॉब्स ही नहीं है. तो वी विल टॉक अबाउट दैट ऑल्सो इन डिटेल टू माई नॉलेज. जितनी नॉलेज मुझे है उस हिसाब से वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट टुडे. वंस दैट इज ओवर, एंड में वी विल टॉक अबाउट क्वेश्चंस. So there is no time limitation for that. Once the webinar is over, just whoever is satisfied, they can leave the webinar. Whoever have questions, they can stay back. And sometimes you might not have thought of a particular question. वो किसी और को वो question आ जाता है. तो then we will talk about those doubts. तो आपके भी doubts clear हो जाएंगे. So you can continue to sit and watch those doubt sessions as well. Doubt session का there is no time limitation. There will be a few other pilots also joining us in that doubt session. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ योर डाउट्स मैं ही क्लियर कर सकता हूँ. बट टुडे लाइक अर्लियर वेबिनार्स में और आज की वेबिनार में छोटा सा डिफरेंस ये है कि अर्लियर वेबिनार में एक तो जो नेक्स्ट 5 से 10 साल का इंडिया का जो ऑर्डर्स या जॉब्स का सिनेरियो वो डिस्कस नहीं हुआ था, वो आज की वेबिनार में वो भी डिस्कस होने वाला है. एंड द अदर डिफरेंस इज अर्लियर वेबिनार में, लास्ट वेबिनार जो हमने कंडक्ट कराई थी उसमें हमने वी कॉल्ड एयर कनाडा के पायलट, कतर एयरवेज, एमिरेट्स, फ्लाई दुबई, सीनियर पायलट्स बुलाए हुए थे. तो उनसे किसी के डाउट्स थे, उन्होंने पूछे. तो आज की वेबिनार में वी हैव सीनियर एयरलाइन पायलट्स तो हैं ही कुछ, बट साथ में आई हैव कॉल्ड अ फ्यू पायलट्स हु हैव जस्ट जॉइन्ड द एयरलाइंस, कि अभी अभी वो आप 1-1.5 साल पहले आपकी स्टेज पे ही थे. दे वर जस्ट सर्चिंग फॉर इंफॉर्मेशन ऑन यूट्यूब हाउ टू बिकम अ पायलट. एंड अभी रिसेंटली लाइक 2-3 months पहले ही उनकी जॉब लगी है एयरलाइंस में. तो आई वॉन्ट टू बेसिकली आई कॉल्ड देम कि भाई मेरे को एविएशन में एंटर किए हुए 17 साल हो गए, बट उनको अभी अभी वो अब जिस फेज से कोई जाता है तो वो आपको शायद ज़्यादा फर्स्ट हैंड स्टोरी बता पाए. इसलिए वी हैव कॉल्ड देम आल्सो, सो यू कैन आस्क देम योर क्वेश्चंस कि भाई अभी अभी फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग में उनको क्या इश्यूज सॉल्व, वो प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे थे, या जॉब लगते टाइम क्या प्रॉब्लम्स का फेस करना पड़ा उनको, हाउ डू यू प्रिपेयर योर सेल्फ टूवर्ड्स द एयरलाइन इंडस्ट्री. तो ये सब बातें आज की वेबिनार में होंगी. सो बिफोर वी स्टार्ट ऑफ विद द वेबिनार, brief introduction about myself, that who I am or how did I reach the position what I am in front of you today. So hi, I am Captain Mohit. I started my aviation journey. Aviation journey से पहले की बात करूँ तो I finished all my schooling from army schools. Delhi में I am settled. Delhi 6th class से लेके 12th तक I did my schooling from Army Public School, Dhaula Kuan, New Delhi. Army schools because father was in the army, grandfather was also in the army, so I come from army background only. In fact, everybody from my family has been in the army only. I chose the private side of the uniform. My father-in-law अभी colonel से retire हुए हैं, वो भी army में ही थे अभी. My brother-in-law, he is a major in the army right now, serving. अभी 1-2 महीने पहले ही उनको प्रेसिडेंट से शौर्य चक्र भी मिला है. तो वी आर द होल फैमिली इज प्राउड ऑफ हिम. तो आर्मी से हटके नाउ बेसिकली यूनिफॉर्म हमेशा ब्लड में रही है शुरू से ही. सो देन एट द एज ऑफ 17 आई डिसाइडेड, पायलट ट्रेनिंग तो डायरेक्ट नहीं चूज किया था. इनिशियली आई ज्वाइंड ग्रेजुएशन, 4 महीने ग्रेजुएशन किया, लगा मेरे लिए नहीं है, मतलब आई ऑलवेज ड्रीम्ड कि भाई यही करना है मुझे एविएशन. तो आई क्विट दैट. 10 दिन इंजीनियरिंग की क्लासेस ली कि आईआईटी करते हैं ये सब. बट अगेन उस साइड माइंड जा ही नहीं रहा था. माइंड वॉज ऑलवेज स्टक टुवर्ड्स एविएशन. सो आई लेफ्ट दैट ऑल्सो. देन इवेंचुअली आई डिसाइडेड दैट ओके एविएशन कंटिन्यू करना है. एंड देन आई डिड माई फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग फ्रॉम कैनेडा. सो कैनेडा से मैंने फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग की थी अपनी 2008. एंड आई फिनिश्ड 2009 एंड 2010 के आसपास फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग खत्म हुई थी. देन एट दैट टाइम इंडिया में जॉब्स इतने नहीं थे. इंडिया में क्या पूरे वर्ल्ड में ही एविएशन में जॉब्स नहीं थे. बिकॉज और एविएशन क्या किसी भी फील्ड में उस टाइम पे जॉब्स नहीं थे. बिकॉज द होल वर्ल्ड वाज हिट विद रिसेशन एट दैट टाइम. सो आप सभी ने मूवीज भी बनी है इतनी रिसेशन के ऊपर उस टाइम के. सो काफी जॉब का काफी डिफिकल्ट सिनेरियो था. बट आई हैड टेकन अ लोन ऑल्सो एट दैट टाइम. और लोन तो चलो साइड में रखते हैं, फिर भी आई हैड टू डू समथिंग इन एविएशन ओनली. सो आई डिसाइडेड टू वर्क इन कैनेडा. So I worked as a flight instructor in Canada. Basically flight instructor जो होते हैं जो नए students को we teach how to fly these airplanes. So I worked as a flight instructor for 5 years. Then obviously in these 5 years I got promoted to chief flight instructor also for the last 6 months. Chief flight instructor होते हैं किसी भी जैसे स्कूल में principal होते हैं. Similarly chief flight instructor is the head of operations of a flight school. So I was a chief flight instructor for a flight school there. And in that period I also became Industry Canada Radio Examiner. अभी हम आगे बात करेंगे. RTR का एक लाइसेंस होता है उसके लिए एग्जामिनर्स जो होते हैं. So I was an examiner in Canada at that time. 2016 I moved back to India. I joined one of the airlines and I fly the Boeing 737. 2018 I became a commander on that airplane. And very recently last year I became a trainer on that particular airplane. तो बोइंग 737 पे आई एम अ ट्रेनर ऑल्सो. ट्रेनर क्या होते हैं जनरली जब आप लोग जनरली एयरलाइंस ज्वाइन करते हो इनिशियली तो इनिशियल फर्स्ट ऑफिसर ट्रेनिंग जो है वो आपको यही ट्रेनर्स कराते हैं. फर्स्ट ऑफिसर से अब आपका प्रमोशन होता है एज अ कमांडर तो आपको ये ट्रेनर्स ही वो ट्रेनिंग कराते हैं. तो दैट वी डू फॉर यू. दैट इज फ्रॉम माई प्रोफेशनल साइड फ्रॉम द एयरलाइंस दैट आई वर्क फॉर. दिस इज समथिंग डिफरेंट दैट वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट टुडे. So let's start off with today's webinar. So how we will start? अभी हम स्टार्ट करेंगे बात करना कि पूरा प्रोसेस डिस्कस करेंगे हम स्टार्टिंग से लेके एंड तक कि हाउ योर जर्नी इज गोइंग टू बी. कि लेट्स से टुडे यू डिसाइड कि मेरे को पायलट बनना है एंड क्या क्या स्टेप्स होंगे आपके पायलट बनने के वो डिटेल में बात करने वाले हैं हम. एंड वंस यू ज्वाइन द एयरलाइंस तब क्या क्या प्रोसेस होगा. एंड एट द एंड वी विल डिस्कस कि जॉब सिनेरियोज वगैरह कैसे कैसे हैं. तो किसी को अगर पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन है ऑलरेडी किसी ने पहली वेबिनार देखी हुई है तो आप डायरेक्टली स्क्रॉल डाउन करके अगर जो यूट्यूब पे अगर वीडियो कभी मिलती है आपको ये तो आप स्क्रॉल डाउन करके एंड तक जाके जॉब सिनेरियोज वाला पार्ट भी देख सकते हैं. वट एवर कंप्लीटली योर कॉल. बट लेट्स स्टार्ट ऑफ विद टुडेज वेबिनार. दैट इज द हैंडसम वर्जन ऑफ मी. ओके सो सबसे पहले वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट द बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स फॉर पायलट ट्रेनिंग. रिक्वायरमेंट्स एज एन एजुकेशनल रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है कि 10th पास करके आप पायलट बन सकते हो. कई बार वीडियो आ रही होती है मैं देखता हूं उसमें इंस्टा पे 10th के बाद पायलट कैसे बने और फिर उसमें लिखा होता है कि 10th के बाद आप 12th करें और फिर पायलट बने. तो ये कोई बात नहीं हुई. सो पॉइंट इज कि अर्लियर ईयर्स पहले काफी डीजीसीए में तब 10th वाज द रिक्वायरमेंट. देन दे चेंज्ड इट टू ग्रेजुएशन. बट जब से मैंने एविएशन ज्वाइन किया है लास्ट 20 ईयर से भी ज्यादा हो गए होंगे अब इसकी रिक्वायरमेंट इज क्लास 12th you should have cleared to start your aviation journey. और 12th में कौन सी साइड होनी चाहिए अभी के लिए द रेगुलेशंस आर आपके पास फिजिक्स एंड मैथ्स मैंडेटरी होना चाहिए और उसमें पासिंग मार्क्स जरूरी है. सो 10+2 so in 10+2 you need physics and mathematics and you need to pass these examination. So इसमें डाउट या क्वेश्चन ये आता है हमेशा कि सिर्फ 33% पे हाउ कैन समबडी बिकम पायलट एंड व्हाई वुड द एयरलाइन गिव एन एयरप्लेन टू समवन हु जस्ट स्कोर्ड 33% इन स्कूल. तो इसको उस तरह से कंपेयर करके देखो कि फॉर एग्जांपल यूपीएससी के एग्जामिनेशंस होते हैं जो एक सेकंड जस्ट रुकना मैं एक लाइट ऑन कर दूंगी. या सो इसको इस तरह से देखो कि जैसे यूपीएससी के एग्जामिनेशन होते हैं तो यूपीएससी बोलता है कि आपको आईपीएस या आईएएस ऑफिसर बनना है तो आपको ग्रेजुएट होना चाहिए. ग्रेजुएशन में कोई परसेंटेज नहीं मांगता. वो बोलता है कि आप ग्रेजुएशन क्लियर की हुई है आपने, यू आर एलिजिबल टू राइट आर एग्जामिनेशंस, तो आप उनका प्री क्लियर करो, मेंस क्लियर करो एंड यू कैन गो ऑन टू बिकम IPS IAS ऑफिसर. समटाइम्स इन लाइफ it happens, like it happened with me also. Class 12th में I was not very studious, I was busy playing with my friends and all. So UPSC भी वही बोलता है ग्रेजुएशन तक आप you might not have been serious, but अब मेहनत करके you clear a written examination and you can become IPS IAS officer. Similarly पायलट ट्रेनिंग में भी ऐसा ही है, वो बोलते हैं कि 12th में हमें सिर्फ फिजिक्स मैथ्स आपका बेसिक पास होना चाहिए. We will conduct our own examinations. So the government will conduct their own written examinations for you to be eligible to become pilots. And when I say the word government, the regulatory government body in India is called as DGCA, Directorate General of Civil Aviation. तो कहीं पे भी if I use this word DGCA, that means I am talking about the Indian government. Age, minimum age to start is 16 years. Obviously class 12th पास करके आए हो तो आपकी 16 years age होगी ही, but you need to be 18 years to get your pilot's license. So if you start at 16, even if you let's say finish everything at 17 and a half, you will have to wait for 6 months to get your pilot's license. But generally जब आप 16 and a half तो हो ही जाता है आपका 12th पास होते होते, तो by the time you finish the whole process training 18 आप हो ही जाते हो, तो 18 की एज पे आपको लाइसेंस मिल जाता है. Now 10+2 में a lot of students have commerce and arts background. Can they become pilots? Well, yes, they can become pilots. My younger sister, she is also a pilot and she had commerce background. But commerce और मैथ्स, एक तो इस साल DGCA ने अभी सिर्फ ड्राफ्ट पास किया है. कई जगह वीडियोस आ रहे हैं कि नाउ कॉमर्स एंड आर्ट्स, टीवी न्यूज में भी देख रहा था मैं, कॉमर्स एंड आर्ट्स पीपल कैन बिकम पायलट्स. दिस इज जस्ट अ ड्राफ्ट पास बाय DGCA राइट नाउ. ड्राफ्ट एज इन कि उन्होंने सिर्फ बोला है कि हाँ वी आर थिंकिंग अबाउट इट, इफ एनीबडी हैज, वी विल पास इट इवेंचुअली. बट अभी किसी को ऑब्जेक्शन है या कुछ है, हमेशा ऐसे ही होता है DGCA में या गवर्नमेंट बॉडी में कि कोई नया रूल आना होता है तो दे विल पब्लिश इट that we are trying to implement this rule, anybody has objection, object to it and we will discuss. तो अभी सिर्फ ड्राफ्ट आया है तो they are thinking of it, अभी applicable नहीं हुआ है. तो इस टाइम पे if anybody wants to become pilot from commerce or arts background, you will have to appear for class 12th का physics and mathematics exam separately from NIOS, that is National Institute of Open Schooling, or any open state board के examination which happen, जो NIOS का एग्जाम है हर 3 से 4 महीने में होते रहते हैं. तो जिनको पायलट बनना है वो सिर्फ फिजिक्स और मैथ्स का पेपर आके देते हैं, सारे सब्जेक्ट का पेपर फिर से नहीं देना है, सिर्फ फिजिक्स मैथ्स का आपको पेपर देना है नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग के थ्रू. हमारी क्लासेस में भी इस साल भी अभी जो 2 दिन पहले ही बैच स्टार्ट हुआ है नया, उसमें भी 6-7 स्टूडेंट हैं जिनके पास आर्ट्स और कॉमर्स बैकग्राउंड है, तो उनका साइमल्टेनियसली फिजिक्स और मैथ्स की भी प्रिपरेशन चल रही है ताकि एग्जाम क्लियर हो जाए. वो सो नॉन साइंस बैकग्राउंड इज ऑलरेडी कवर्ड. वी आर होपिंग दैट बाय नेक्स्ट ईयर, तो कभी आप में से कोई अगर 11th क्लास में हो एंड कॉमर्स साइड है तो नेक्स्ट ईयर से मोस्टली ये रूल शायद इम्प्लाई हो जाए कि आपको फिजिक्स मैथ्स की जरूरत नहीं है. एक और सवाल आता है कॉमर्स और आर्ट्स के स्टूडेंट्स से कि क्या एक्चुअल में फिजिक्स और मैथ्स इस पढ़ाई में यूज होता है. वेल, टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन, इंडिया इज द ओनली कंट्री जहां पे फिजिक्स और मैथ्स की रिक्वायरमेंट है. वर्ल्ड में किसी और कंट्री में फिजिक्स मैथ्स की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है क्लास 12th में. सो एक्चुअली में इंटीग्रेशन, डिफरेंशिएशन, वो जो हमने पढ़े थे क्लास 12th में 11th में, वो सब नहीं यूज होते एविएशन की स्टडीज में. बेसिक आपका क्लास 10th तक का जो मैथ्स और फिजिक्स है वो यूज होता है एंड वो क्लासेस में भी पढ़ाया जाता है. जनरली जो भी आप DGCA की क्लासेस ज्वाइन करते हो तो उसमें ये सब्जेक्ट आपको पढ़ाते ही है कि बेसिक प्रेशर क्या है, ह्यूमिडिटी क्या है, एंगल्स क्या है ट्राइंगल के, ये tan थीटा क्या होता है. बेसिक मैथ्स और फिजिक्स यूज होता है. इतना कोई नेक्स्ट लेवल फिजिक्स मैथ्स एक्चुअल में इस पढ़ाई में यूज नहीं होता है. एज में जब बात करते हैं तो लॉट ऑफ पीपल आस्क मी व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम एज. एक तो वो पूछते हैं कि व्हाट इज द एज ऑफ रिटायरमेंट. सो एज ऑफ रिटायरमेंट फॉर पायलट्स इज 65 ईयर्स. तो आप 65 साल की एज तक यू कैन वर्क फॉर द एयरलाइंस. इवन आफ्टर दैट, वैसे तो 65 के बाद क्या ही जॉब करना, बट इफ यू फील लाइक वर्किंग दैट यू वांट टू वर्क आफ्टर 65 ऑल्सो, तो आप फ्लाइंग जॉब में नहीं हो सकते, बट आप ग्राउंड पे सिमुलेटर जॉब्स एज अ टीचर, एज एन इंस्ट्रक्टर, फ्लाइट सिमुलेटर्स पे पढ़ा सकते हो एयरलाइन के लिए. उसके बाद भी 65 तक आप फ्लाइंग कर सकते हो एयरलाइन के लिए. पहले ये 60 होती थी एज, बट ड्यू टू शॉर्टेज ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस्ड पायलट्स वो बढ़ा के फिर 65 कर दी थी बाद में एज. What is the maximum age to start the aviation journey? There is no age limit set by DGCA कि आप इसके बाद ही, इससे पहले ही स्टार्ट कर सकते हो पायलट ट्रेनिंग. बट ऑब्वियसली एयरलाइंस सेट एन एज लिमिट कि हम इससे ओल्डर पायलट्स हायर नहीं करेंगे, फ्रेशर स्पेशली. एक्सपीरियंस्ड हो, लाइक आई एम एक्सपीरियंस्ड, आई एम 34 नाउ, आई विल बी 35 दिस ईयर एंड. तो एक्सपीरियंस पायलट्स के लिए तो आप कभी भी ज्वाइन कर लो एयरलाइन. आप 50 साल के हो तो भी एक्सपीरियंस है, कोई भी एयरलाइन ज्वाइन करा लेगी. बट फ्रेशर्स, नए पायलट्स जो हैं, उनके लिए एयरलाइन एक मैक्सिमम एज लिमिट सेट कर देती है, क्योंकि एयरलाइंस नहीं वो चाहती है कि भाई आपको एक्सपीरियंस गेन करा के आपको कैप्टन बनाए फ्यूचर में, और सो ऑन सो दैट यू कैन, दे कैन यूटिलाइज यू. दे डोंट वांट कि कोई उनको 55 की एज में ज्वाइन करे और 62-63 की एज में जाके वो कैप्टन बने और 2 साल ही उनको कैप्टन की तरह यूज कर पाए वो. सो दैट इज व्हाई मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द एयरलाइंस दे हायर फ्रेशर्स ओनली अप टू द एज ऑफ 35. कुछ एयरलाइन है जो 40 तक भी हायर करती हैं, 42 तक भी हायर करती हैं, बट मेजॉरिटी जो है 35 तक हायर करती हैं सब. वेरी रिसेंटली एक एयरलाइन ने जो अभी वैकेंसी निकाली थी, एक एयरलाइन के एयर इंडिया ने वैकेंसी निकाली थी लास्ट जो है 6 महीने पहले, उसमें दे हैड सेट अ लिमिट ऑफ 30 ईयर्स कि 30 ईयर्स से ओल्डर पीपल विल नॉट हायर. सो यू कैन सी इट इज basically demand and supply, that at that time if they feel there are a lot of youngsters available in the industry, they might restrict it to 30. 30 से कम किसी की भी मैंने देखी नहीं है कि एज वो आती है, but mostly 35 तक they hire. So at what age can you start latest by? I would say 32. 32 के बाद अगर आप start कर रहे हो तो then you are putting your money at risk. You might be lucky, you might get, there are people जिन्होंने हमारे भी स्टूडेंट्स हैं कुछ जिन्होंने 33 पे, स्पेशली कैबिन क्रू आते हैं कई बार तो कतर से या इधर उधर एयरलाइन से, तो 33 की एज पे भी एक स्टूडेंट है जिनको मैं जानता हूँ 33, 34 पे भी स्टार्ट किया है एंड दे गॉट अ जॉब इवेंचुअली 36, 37 की एज पे. सो दैट इज ऑन द लकीयर साइड. बट माई पर्सनल रिकमेंडेशन वुड नॉट बी कि आप 32 के बाद स्टार्ट करो ये फील्ड में, अनलेस कोई और ऑप्शन बचा ही नहीं आपके पास. और डिफरेंट ऑप्शंस की बात बाद में करेंगे कि एयरलाइन के अलावा और क्या ऑप्शंस होते हैं पायलट्स के पास, फ्लाइट इंस्ट्रक्टर बनने के, चार्टर पायलट्स बनने के, वो ऑप्शंस भी अवेलेबल हैं. सो फॉर नाउ लेट्स कीप इट टू मैक्सिमम एज ऑफ 32 वेयर यू कैन स्टार्ट दिस एविएशन जर्नी. उससे पहले कर रहे हो नो प्रॉब्लम. 27, कई स्टूडेंट आते हैं बोलते हैं मैं 27 हो गया हूँ, नहीं 26, 27, 28 ये तो परफेक्ट एजेस हैं ये जर्नी स्टार्ट करने के लिए आपको. ओके, नेक्स्ट वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट मेडिकल्स नाउ. Okay, so these are the 7 steps जिसके बारे में we are going to talk about today. So if you want, you have a pen and paper, you can write them down. If you want to take a screenshot, you can take a screenshot of this as well. So these are the 7 steps we are going to cover, and apart from that we will talk about the aviation industry scenario and all that. So basic, this covers all your flight training, basically all your pilot training in short. Okay, now as a pilot you will be responsible for the life of so many people. You will have 200 passengers sitting at the back, so you cannot, airlines cannot hire somebody that who is not medically fit. And when they talk about medical fitness, they don't talk about that you should have like biceps, 6-pack abs. They mean to say medical fitness as in basic medical fitness should be there, that your blood में levels of HB, TLC, DLC, urine में that you should not be very high sugar levels or all that. So you will have to go through a lot of medical tests, and if you pass within basic limits, then you can go on to become pilots. Now in medicals, let's talk about medicals in detail. Now medical is divided into 2 parts. When I say 2 parts, medical 2, which is also called as class 2 medical, and medical 1, which is also called as class 1 medical. So we don't do the 1 first, it's 1 and 2, it's actually we do the class 2 medical first, then we do the class 1. So first, if you have decided, okay, the thought comes to your mind that I want to become a pilot now. So the first thing that you should do is this class 2 medical. Nothing else required. Initially you have to just do this class 2 medical, because if you're not medically fit, there is no point of investing so much money in any of the procedures. For example, the DGCA classes. DGCA classes, or to write the examinations, you don't need medical. But let's say you clear the written exams and then later on, after investing 6 months of your time, money चलो एक बार को छोड़ दो आप, time is more important. So if after investing 6 months of time and then you do your medical and then you find out you're not medically fit, you've wasted 6 months of your time. I emphasize on this medical so much because when I went for pilot training, I was sent through an agent. And he did not, at that time, webinar, YouTube and all that was not there. So he did not tell me that, I did not know that at that time that it is so important to do medical. I directly left to Canada. And I did my medicals after my flight training in Canada. So that money would have been wasted if I became medically unfit later on. So this is very important. Who does it? So private doctors can do class 2 medical. However, not all the private doctors are approved to do class 2 medical. DGCA approved doctors have been appointed all over the country which are approved to do this class 2 medical. How will you find that which doctor is approved? We will provide you a list. Also, this list is available on DGCA's website. So on DGCA website, if you open, there is a medical section. In that there is a list of class 2 doctors. There is a list with the address and contact number of all the doctors that are approved all over India. Also at the end of this webinar, on your WhatsApp group, we'll send that list of doctors. You can directly communicate with the nearest doctor that is available to you and you can book an appointment. They will do the medical for you. It generally takes 1 or 2 days maximum to finish this class 2 medical. This only has to be done once in your lifetime. Class 2 medical only once. You never have to do this medical again. Approximate charges, some doctors might do it in 6,000, 7,000 also. This is just average numbers I have written because there are certain doctors which might charge you 12,000 also. So average charges for this medical 8 to 10,000, and this medical is valid for 2 years. But even after 2 years, it's not like that you have to redo this medical. Basically it is valid for 2 years, and within the period of this 2 years, you are supposed to finish your class 1 medical. So if you don't do class 1 medical within 2 years of this, then you have to redo this class 2 medical. So it's valid for 2 years, 1 to 2 days maximum to finish these tests. Class 1 medical, so once you are done with class 2, more than 90% chances are that you will clear your class 1 medical also. Very rarely out of 1000, maybe 1, 2, 3 students I find after clearing class 2 also they fail class 1 because tests and everything is same almost. This class 1 test is done by Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force or a very few civil hospitals are approved. For example, Apollo Hospital in New Delhi and Nanavati in Mumbai, they are approved to do this class 1. Initially the class 1 medical, the first class 1 medical that you would do would be done by Indian Air Force, and later on every year we are supposed to do our medical renewals. That can be again done by these medicals. So right now I don't have to go to Air Force. I go to these class 2 doctors only. They are eligible to do class 1 renewals. So this is the initial class 1, and then after that every year we are supposed to do class 1 renewals of these medicals, which can be done by these class 2 medical doctors only. Only at the age of 45 I will have to go to again Air Force to do my medical. So that is the regulations they have set. So point is, if this is cleared, you can't do class 1 medical right away. It takes a few months for the assessment to come, then you book the class 1. In that meanwhile, you can utilize your time to start studying for the DGCA written examinations. So now you know that if I have cleared this, very high chances I will clear this also. Almost more than 90% chances. Charges are approximately same because tests are same, and it is valid for 1 year, and we have to redo this medical every year till the age of 40, and after the age of 40 every 6 months we do these medicals. It also takes 1 to 2 days approximately to finish all these tests. Okay. So general questions that are asked about medicals. So people generally ask me that if I wear glasses, can I become a pilot? Well, yes, if you have glasses on, still you can become pilots. My younger sister, as I mentioned, she also has glasses. So this regulation is very, very old, where you could not become pilots with glasses, that too in Air Force and all. But in commercial side, as long as your vision is 6/6, what is 6/6 vision? That when you go to the doctor, generally the doctor would ask you to read when you are doing an eye test, वो board पे जो लिखा होता है alphabets, they get smaller and smaller. If you are able to read, doctor says okay, vision is 6/6. But without glasses, if you can't read and after the glasses you are able to read again, then your vision is 6/6 with the glasses. So then you can go on to become pilots अगर glasses के साथ, if you can read. The only thing that additional you have to do is that whenever you are flying as pilots, you are recommended to carry one extra set of glasses. That in case while flying you drop your glasses and it break, so you should carry an extra set. That is the only regulation that applies to you. Otherwise there is no difference in someone who has glasses and who does not. If you are overweight or underweight, if you are overweight or underweight, basically you have exceeded your BMI. BMI is body mass index. Body mass index is basically your weight to height ratio, and they have given certain limitation in which your height to weight ratio should be. So if you are out of that limit, you can still go on to become pilots. Medical you can clear, because they say if you are overweight, for example, like I am out of my BMI, I am not too tall, so I weigh extra. So I have to go through extra tests in every medical. Extra tests as in I will have to do a lipid profile test, I will have to do a sugar test, a diabetic test. So these are certain tests extra that I have to do from people who are within the BMI, and then you are cleared with your medical and you can go on to become pilots. However, in further slides we'll talk about cadet pilot and conventional pilot. So cadet pilot program mein, the airlines want you to be within the BMI at that particular time to join the airlines directly. Am I tall enough? Height requirement basically to become pilots. The height requirement is same for male and female. DGCA again has not set out any height limitation to become pilots. Reason, multiple reasons, because there are different variants of aircraft. Some are smaller aircraft, some are bigger airplanes. So the height requirement might be different to fly different airplanes. So the DGCA has not set out. Also DGCA clearly just mentioned that whichever airplane you are going to fly, when you sit on the seat of that airplane, your hand should reach all the switches and your legs should be able to reach the brakes properly. They have not set out any height requirement, that how tall you should be. Height requirement is same for male and female, or if you are from northeast region, you know, army, air force mein kai baar aata hai ki if you belong to northeast region, the height requirements are less, you are from some other region, height requirement is different. Here it's nothing like that. But in general, what I have noticed, if your height is 152 centimeters or more, you are in the green zone. You will not have a problem in joining the airlines. If you are more than 152 centimeters, majority of the airlines do not object, and you are easily able to reach the switches and your feet will reach the brakes properly. But if you are under the age of 152 to or under 150, so I would not recommend that you start this aviation journey. You might be able to become a flight instructor on smaller airplanes, but airlines, they will not say no, that okay, your height is, because doctor will clear your medical. Let's say you are 145 centimeters, the doctor will clear your medical, because doctor ke restriction mein hai nahi wo. That doctor will say okay, you are paying me, I will do the class 1 medical, class 2 medical to you, that blood levels are okay, urine levels are okay, everything is okay. You go to a ground schooling institution, they will say okay, for us there is no height requirement, we'll teach you, we'll take your money, we'll teach you, and you will clear all the examinations. You go to a private flight school, they will say okay, we don't have a problem in teaching you, you give us 50 lakhs and we will train you on this airplane, you get your pilot license. But when you go to the airlines, they will not hire you. They don't clearly say we're not hiring you, but I have never seen in my life a pilot height of 145 centimeters. If you come across one, do let me know also. So sometimes airlines, when they come out with vacancy, they post, okay, for this particular vacancy we need height of 150 155 centimeters or 157 centimeters. So, but generally again I am coming back to the same thing, that less than 152 you are in the, I would say, the red zone or something, and above 152.5 centimeter you are on the greener zone, so you will not have height issues. There is another thing that is available, you can go through a cockpit check. If your height is less than 152, there is something called as cockpit check, and the Air Force people can also recommend you that, in which you will sit in a cockpit and see whether your hand reaches all the switches and your legs reaches. So if you clear the cockpit check, then mostly you should not have a problem. Okay. The other question that is asked is if you are color blind. Color blind, for those who don't know, color blind ऐसा नहीं होता कि that you see everything black and white in this world. Color blind people see everything just like you see. It's just when mixture of colors is introduced in front of them, they are not able to distinguish between the numbers and all on these colors. So as pilots, when we fly, on our screens we have mixture of colors. So they will basically sometimes get confused in colors. That is what color blindness means, and you are color blind by birth only. So if you want to test whether you are color blind or no, there are a lot of websites available. You put on Google color blind test, a lot of tests will open up, there will be numbers written in mixture. If you are able to read them, then you don't have problem. And also, the last webinar also I mentioned that there was a father who got angry on the son because he was color blind. So father got angry that he watches too many Instagram reels, and because that's why he's become color blind. So it's not like that. You are color blind by birth. So this watching TV and all that does not affect your color blindness. But if you are color blind, you cannot become a pilot. It is not acceptable at all. If you have got a surgery done, this is a question that is asked a lot of times, that if I have got LASIK surgery done, if I have got a knee surgery done. So for this, so see, for aviation you can ask me a lot of questions because I have been in this industry for such a long time. So my expertise are not this. Expertise will be with class 2 doctors. You can call a doctor in Delhi, you can call a doctor in Bangalore, and call multiple doctors, call 3 different doctors and ask for an opinion that I've got this surgery done, I'm sending you the reports, is this surgery acceptable to become a pilot? And these are all aviation doctors, so they're not like if you're calling from Mumbai, they'll hang up your call. They're very, very helpful, all of them. They'll clearly tell you whether this type of surgery is acceptable, or there are certain surgeries in which there is a time gap that you have done this surgery, for 3 years you cannot become a pilot, or for 4 years you cannot become a pilot. So talk to the doctors directly. I will not be able to tell that you got head surgery done or knee surgery, then can you become a pilot? Best thing is to talk to the doctors about that. If you have knock knees are not acceptable. Knock knees kya hota hai? When you stand, both your knees are touching each other. If you have a flat foot is also acceptable. And what if I fail my medical? This is $1 million question that everybody should have, that if you fail your medicals in future, what is going to happen? Because I mentioned that every year you have to do medical. So if you fail your medical, let's say now I fail my medical, touch wood, it should not happen, that if I fail my medical, what happens? So there are 2 types of medical unfitness. One is temporary unfit and one is permanent unfit. Temporary unfit, can you see the screen clearly, or is it too much brightness?
It is visible, sir.
It's okay?
Yes, sir, it's okay.
Okay. Just tell me if this is okay or this is better.
This one is better, sir.
This is better,
sir. This
Okay.
one is better.
So there are 2 slides actually. There is one is black slide, in which I think this is better. When we have the yellow slide, then we'll turn the light on. Okay. So if you are declared, let's say now I go for my medical is due in December, and the doctor says, okay, in your blood there is one thing that is very high. So I will be declared temporarily unfit. Doctor will give me some medicine, he'll say, okay, come back after 2 weeks. So you cannot fly for 2 weeks, you are medically unfit, you are grounded for some time. After 2 weeks, you go back, doctor finds everything is okay, he will declare you medical fit, you are on the way and you will start flying again. But if there is something that will declare you permanently medical unfit, permanent medical unfitness easily नहीं होता है. I've 1,000 pilots are there, maybe I would say 2 or 3 they suffer this permanent medical unfitness. That could be reasons: brain tumor, life-threatening disease. If you got into an accident in which you completely lost a finger or a hand, something like that, that will render you permanently medical unfit. So if you are declared permanently medical unfit, then you cannot become pilots. Basically, you cannot continue your job as flying duties, you cannot continue. So that is a big loss to somebody's profession. However, if you lose your permanent medical, then you are covered by insurance, and these are not normal insurances, these are totally different type of insurances that pilots have. So you are covered by insurance from your airline and the other insurance company also, anywhere between 2 to 5 crores depending on which airline you fly for, which insurance you have taken. So anywhere between 2 to 5 crores your cover is there. Also, if you get temporary unfit for a longer period, there are certain people who get temporary unfit for 1 year. There is a pilot I know who got temporary unfit for almost, I think, more than 1 year because of certain disease. So if you are temporary unfit for a longer period, then through that insurance you also get salary for that particular period of time. So that is how you are covered. So no money can fulfill your loss, but at least there is something to start a new journey or a new profession. So you are covered by a good amount because you have invested a lot of amount into this industry. Okay, this I don't have to explain much. These are certain tests that you would go through in your medicals. You don't need to memorize these tests, no need to write them down, because when you go to the doctor himself is going to give you all the list of tests that you have to go through. So generally they take your urine microscopy, complete blood count, eye test, audiometry, blood pressure, BMI, lipid profile, basic ENT check, and other basic tests that you will go through. Now you start your pilot training. Your pilot training is divided into 2 parts. One is the ground part. Ground part has all the written examinations. DGCA conducts written examinations for which you have to study, and once the ground part is done, then you do the flight training part, in which is the practical flying you learn. DGCA has allowed you to do both of them simultaneously also. They say you fly and write examinations, but more than 95% of students don't choose to do this because these exams are not very easy. So it gets very difficult to fly and concentrate and do the written examination also. Also, all the flight schools are not located in major cities. They are in small cities. So every time, because these exams happen every month, so every time you go there, you come back to write the exam. So majority, 95% or more students, what they do is they clear one thing at a time. They clear all the written examinations, then they start flying. 2 reasons: parents they also get confident in investing that money into the student, that he has cleared all the examinations now. Now we can spend the majority of the amount which is spent on flight training, close to 50 lakhs. Ground training mein mostly you spend close to 2 lakhs. So it is divided into 2 parts. First we are going to talk about the ground training or the DGCA examination part, for which you need a computer number. To write the examinations, there is a number that is required, that is called as computer number. Computer number hota kya hai? Computer number is generally like an Aadhaar number, कि पूरे Indian government हर citizen को they give them an Aadhaar number. Similarly, DGCA हर pilot aspirant को एक computer number issue करता है. And how do you get this computer number? Basically, you submit an application. You don't have to, we submit an application for you. You can also submit on their website. So you give your 10th, 12th mark sheet, verification, photograph, Aadhaar card, signature. There is a list of documents that they have published. Ki you send it to them, they will look at them, go through them, and they will issue you a computer number. This computer number will be fixed. It's not a roll number. It's an identity number for you as a pilot. This will remain the same as all your life. So my computer number what I got years ago is still the same. So when they have to open up a file for me, so with that number there will be a file generated. So even if I get any promotion in life, any licenses that I get, anything, it will be upgraded, it will be stored in that number for me. So in DGCA, when they want to open up about me, they will not open up with Mohit. They will open up with that number. I am given a number, okay, they will open that file, they will have everything in front of them. So that is what computer number is, and it is required to write the DGCA written examinations. What are the subjects that you are going to study in aviation to write these examinations? So there is a list of exams we have mentioned here. First is, this is meteorology, air regulation, navigation, radio telephony and technical. I'll talk about these examinations in detail. Okay. So first is meteorology. Meteorology is basically, in this you study about weather. How should pilots avoid weather? We recently also, there was an incident where one of the aircraft entered very bad weather and it was damaged. So pilots should know about rain, clouds, all this you study in this particular subject, meteorology. Duration and also, basically this examination has 50 questions which DGCA conducts for you, and you need to score 70% marks in all the examination. Passing mark is 70 in this. If you score 70 or if you score 90, you don't get anything extra basically. So 70% and 90% is all same thing obviously, but instructors will feel good, you will feel good, parents will feel good if you score 90%. But passing mark is basically, these are qualifying exams, I should say, that you need 70%. So if you have 69, you fail. If you have 70%, you pass. There is no negative marking in these examinations. These are all objective type exams. Objective as in, you, in the question you will get 3 options, you correct the correct one. So in this they have just mentioned a few of our toppers in the last few months. This Joel was from Kerala. Recently he topped in navigation and he topped all over India. He got the first rank. The other subject is air regulation. Air regulation here is basically, it talks about all the laws in the aviation. Laws as in, basically while driving also you have so many laws. Red light per you have to stop, green pe jana hai, left turn free hai. Similarly flying के time पे भी there are a lot of regulations that we have to follow. तो ये regulations के बारे में आप इसमें पढ़ते हो. इसमें भी आपके 50 questions एग्जाम में होते हैं and you need 35 नंबर आपको चाहिए होते हैं पास होने के लिए. बेसिकली 70% मार्क्स चाहिए पास होने के लिए इसमें भी. Okay. The other subject you are going to study about is air navigation. This is one of the most important subjects in aviation. It is very vast. It includes 3 different subjects. These are all our published books. So we have our own published books that we use here. So general navigation, radio navigation and instrument, it all combined makes one subject as air navigation. So this is a 100-mark question which you need 70%. Majority of the students struggle in this only. However, if you ask me how difficult are these subjects are not very difficult. It's just out of class 12th. See, you were in 11th, when you came to 12th, you were studying whatever you studied in 11th, just the next step of that. So everything was related. In this, suddenly you have moved into a field where it is totally different. Subjects are not common. So now it's just too much information for you to gather at once. These subjects are not difficult, it's just a lot of information that you have to consume at once. So that is why sometimes people struggle, but otherwise eventually everybody clears. So this is also a 100-mark question. Instructors, so I put in some efforts into this, teaching the students, and there is Captain from Indigo Airlines which teach this particular subject. Technical general. Now the other 3 subjects that we spoke about, they are mandatory. You have to clear those examinations. This technical general, in this subject you study about how the airplane flies, how the engines work, basically everything technical about the airplane. So the practical flight training that you are going to do later on, exams clear hoge when you are going to fly, that practical flight training, DGCA has given you option that you can do this flight training either in India or abroad, whichever way you want to do it. So they said if you are doing this practical training in India, then it is mandatory for you to write this particular exam also. But if your plan is to fly from, let's say, South Africa or America or Canada to do the flight training, they said you can skip this particular subject in India, just the exam, because airplanes are same everywhere. So they say when you go to that particular country, you write the exam. So that is why I always recommend to students, or not from the academy point of view, as a mentor also I always tell, because this is something very, very important. Technical, you should know the airplane that you are flying, you should know how that airplane is generating lift, how the engines are working. So majority of the students, whoever are going abroad also for flight training, they study this particular subject and then proceed on to those countries to do flight training. They might skip the exam, but they study about this, because this is a very important subject for flying. Also when you join the airlines, the written exams, that because airlines are also going to take one exam. So in that exam they ask about this particular subject a lot. So this subject is taught, some of it by me and some of it by one of the Air India captain that comes in and teaches this. Again, exam is 100 questions. So 100 questions exam, again back to back is written, because consecutive months we got all India toppers from the academy. There was one more exam that was written at the end apart from this 4 exams we have mentioned. 5th exam is RTR. RTR is radio telephony, in which you study about how to communicate with the air traffic controller. So again, if you are doing your practical flight training part in India, you have to do this exam in India. If you are doing practical flight training in America, you have to do this exam in India. If you are doing flight training from South Africa, then you have to do basically half of this exam. So it's not that important to go into that detail, but basically this RTR exam is divided into 2 parts, part 1, part 2, which you do together on one day only. But if you have done flight training from South Africa, because South Africa is a Commonwealth country, they have given an exemption that you don't do the full exam, you just do half of it in India. So again, in short, these are the 5 subjects that you have to study and you have to appear for these examinations. Once you have chosen this career, then if you have any doubts, then you can ask me that, okay, kindly brief me in detail about these subjects and all. These exams, 70% passing marks, these exams take place every month. So DGCA conducts these exams every month, and every alternate, basically they do. January is called an on-demand exam. On-demand, they have limited seats. So you apply for them, 5,000 fees is the fees for per exam. February, again on-demand exam, limited seats, not everybody gets seats to write these exams. But March, open exam, everybody can write these exam, and exam fees is also 2,500 rupees. Then again for 2 months you will have on-demand exams, 3rd month is a regular exam. So every month these exams keep taking place. But you don't write them every month, obviously, because if you start preparing today, you're not ready to write exam the first month only. You will prepare for 2 months, then write 1 exam or 2 exam. Now we spoke about these 5 different examinations. These are all separate exams. It's not like in school, if you write 5 exams and let's say in school you write all of them at once. Not here. These are 5 separate exams. You can write all of them at once, or you can choose to write them one by one, or you can choose to write 2 in this month, 1 the next month, 2 the next month, like that you can divide however you want them. Even if you are not able to clear a particular exam, it's not like that in school out of 5 if you failed 3, then you fail the whole class. Here it's not like that. Let's say you appear 5 exams, you cleared 2 only, then you just have to appear for 3 exams whichever you failed. How many times do students take to clear these exams? So there is no limit set by DGCA. You can appear n number of times for these examinations. But generally decent students who are giving their time, and if you've got the right guidance, I would say, or the mentorship, then you are easily able to clear these exams within first attempt only. Some students might take up to second attempt. Otherwise, like if I have to look at the numbers here at the academy only, So I would say almost 80% or maybe more students clear in first attempt only. Some of them might take second attempt, but majority of you clear within first attempt only. And also it depends on the subject, that meteorology, air regulation, passing rate is slightly on the higher side. Air navigation, I think one of these attempts last 2-3 months ago, there were only close to 30-35% student passed all over India. However, in the academy, I think students close to 85% they cleared the examination in first attempt only. Navigation is slightly on the difficult side. Okay, so this is just our results that they posted. DGCA exam results. So September, these were our results. These are the students that cleared in September. Okay, November, December exam. All these students wrote the examinations here. March, April, May. Okay. How much time does it take? So individually, I would not talk, but from the time you decided to you want to become a pilot, you apply, you do your class 2 medicals, we apply for your computer number, then you are studying for the examination, so we will file for your computer number, and you clear these written examination. It takes anywhere between 4 to 6 months. 4 months is being too optimistic, but generally 5 to 6 months, 6 months you should keep it in your hand to clear all these examinations at one shot. 6 months easily you will take. This is the most exciting part for which you must have been waiting for. Basically, just out of class 12, like I remember I was told कि सिर्फ 12th पढ़ लो आप, after that you don't have to study, and I am still studying even now. So after 12th you again start studying, so you study for about 6 months, clear these written examinations, then you go for flight training, which is obviously the exciting part. In flight training now you choose that which country you want to do flight training from. You can do flight training from India, you can do flight training from any other country, but majority of the Indian students, when they choose flight schools, most of them have chosen India, South Africa, America, some of them go to Canada also like I did, New Zealand, Australia, Philippines earlier they used to go, not anymore, some of them go to Philippines sometimes, but major chunk of students that have gone are these 3 countries only, India, South Africa and America. Baki Australia, New Zealand also very less, not that much. We will talk about the reasons that why or on what basis they have chosen these countries. So this is the small airplane that you're going to fly when you go for your pilot training. You don't directly fly the bigger Airbus or Boeing airplanes. Okay. Here I have created, basically differentiated between these 3 countries. We are going to discuss the difference in these 3 countries so that it is easier for you to decide. So before I discuss this, there are 2 important things that I want to tell you. That first of all, you don't have to take this decision right away that which country you have to do your pilot training from, because this decision can be taken later on also, because regardless of which country you go, you have to write the DGC written examination. So while you are doing the written examinations, you will meet a lot of students. So right now you must have listened to few people on YouTube or wherever, but when you are in the classes, you meet so many other students. There are 50, 100 students here. You will meet them, you will know their ideas, that why have you chosen this country. You will meet seniors, they will tell you which country to choose. So this decision can be taken later on also, because eventually DGCA exams are mandatory. So first start studying about these examinations and then you can take a call which country to choose. Also when you are choosing the country, first thing first, remember that eventually when you go for the airline job, airlines के लिए फर्क नहीं पड़ता. They don't care where you have done flight training from. So they don't give preference that okay, I have done from America, so they will hire me first. Nothing like that. They will not give preference to anyone, that whichever country you do your flight training from, eventually it does not matter. For them, what matters to them is, do you have an Indian pilot's license? Yes. Are you able to clear our written examination? Yes. Okay. Can you crack our interview GD rounds? Yes. Yes, then you're a part of the airline. So eventually it does not matter. I'm going to give you a brief about these three countries. You can take a call on your basis. I know you will ask me that which country do you prefer, but I cannot give an answer to that question because it is dependent on you completely. We'll talk, you will know why am I saying this, because I have done flight training from Canada. My younger sister, she did it from India. My brother-in-law is also a pilot, he did it from America. All of us are working for the airlines, so it eventually did not matter. All of us are getting the same salary. Everything is same, promotions are same, nothing is different. So you have to make your decision based on money and the quality of training. So these three countries, India, how much is it costing and how much time is it taking to finish these 200? So you need 200 hours of flight training. So this is not like a graduation course. Graduation mein toh if I go to do BTech, if I am a poor student, I will still take 4 years. If I am a brilliant student, my BTech will be done in 4 years. But here it is not like that. Here we have to do 200 hours of flight training. Basically, I have to be seated in that airplane for 200 hours. So if I go today and do 3 hours of training, I am left with 197 hours of training. And there was another student who did only 1 hour of training, he will be left with 199 hours of training. So that is how it works. So eventually you have to finish 200 hours of training. So some places, some people have finished this training within 6 to 7 months also. Some people have taken 4 years also. So do not go by the numbers. If a school says 6 months, that they are talking about that in 5 years maybe one of their student out of 1000 students finished that flight training is 6 months, and they tell you 6 months, because I was told 6 months. When I went for my flight training, the agent told me that you will become a pilot in 6 months and you will start earning 2 lakhs per month after 6 months. So I was so happy, I started calculating that after 6 months I will be so rich. That's not how it works. It takes time. We will talk about the overall time also. 6 months to DGCA exams clear करने में ही लग जाते हैं. Then you do flight training, then you apply for airlines. Even after getting a job in the airline, sometimes you have to wait for 6 months to a year before you start getting paid full salaries. So we will talk about that, how much time does it take. So in India, right now to finish flight training, it is approximately 12 months is too optimistic, but anywhere between 14 to 15 months right now. So 14 months period you can take in your hand. Good schools in India. There are schools in India which will take you 4 or 5 years also. So choose your flight school wisely. So approximate time, good schools, 14 months right now to finish your flight training. Cost, anywhere between 50 to 55 lakhs. There are schools which will cost you 46 lakhs also. There are schools which will cost you 60 lakhs also. But the number that I have put in here is of average decent good schools. So their timing is 50 to 55 lakhs right now. Sorry, money. Their costing is 50 to 55 lakhs right now in India. Quality of training, if you go to good schools, anything closer to this figure 50 lakhs, you will find good quality of training. Quality of training mein itna zyada, earlier when I was doing training, us time pe quality of training in India was not that good. But now, that time majority of the people, almost 80 to 90% of the pilots used to go abroad to go get trained. But now those pilots have come to India, they have become flight instructors here. So quality of training in India is as optimum level. But 19-20 का भी थोड़ा सा फर्क है. But let's just disregard that. You go to America. America, the flight training time is approximately 10 months. It is slightly on the faster side, but you don't save up too much time if you compare India and America. Reason? Here you have to get your visa and all that. So sometimes it takes up to 2 months to get your visa process done. And then when you come back from America, you will come back with an American license, which is called an FAA license. Airlines will not give you job based on this license. Basically, airlines want Indian pilot license. So when you come back to India, you convert your American license to Indian license. You tell the DGCA authority that I have cleared your DGCA exams already, I have done my flight training from abroad, I got American license, I want to convert it to Indian license. So the authority will say you have to fly for 9 more hours in India. So you fly for 9 hours here and convert your license. This 9 hours does not take much time, maximum 2 weeks to a month, that's it. And you are able to convert your license, and then you will have 2 pilot licenses. You will have FAA license also and DGCA license also. But you will be working with the airline with this only. This is just with you. You can utilize it in a future stage any point, but right now whenever you are working in India, you will be working with this license only. Costing in America, it is same as India, anywhere between 50 to 55 lakhs only, it's written 52 here. Costing in America is also same, 50 to 55 lakhs. However, in America, your cost of living is much higher. Your accommodation is much higher. Every month you will be spending close to 1 lakh, including food, accommodation, transportation. So overall costing goes up by close to 10 lakhs per month, per year. So you will be spending 55 plus, I would say about 10 lakhs. So close to anywhere between 60 to 65 lakhs tak aapka budget pahunch jayega if you do flight training from America. Quality of training wonderful, as in exposure is wonderful. Exposure की बात जब करता हूँ तो I have flown in America also, because Canada and America are attached. So sometimes we used to go to America to fly also. So over there, like in India, if you are training, you will never be able to enter Delhi airspace, Bombay airspace, very busy airspace, airlines are flying. Safety purpose की वजह से रखा हुआ है. But America में वो सब restriction नहीं है, इतना ज़्यादा crowded नहीं है, तो what they have allowed people to fly in and out of busy airspace also, so you get a lot of exposure. So quality of training 19-20 का फर्क है इंडिया और वहाँ पे भी, but that eventually does not matter when you are going to take the job with the airlines, क्योंकि airline में job सबकी same ही लगनी है, so उतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Later after working in the airline for 5 years or so, both of you will be flying that airplane equally good. South Africa on the other hand, South Africa is very well known destination for pilots to go do their training. The sole reason is money. South Africa is very cheap in terms of flight training. So if you do flight training from South Africa, you end up saving a lot of money, but don't go by these numbers. It says 50 to 55 lakhs in India and 36 to 37 lakhs in South Africa. So you see the difference is almost 15 lakhs. But you don't save 15 lakhs. Reason for that is, in this also you will get South African license. So when you come back to India, you will have to convert your license. So that conversion fees is close to 3 to 4 lakhs. So you add it to this. So your cost will go to 42 lakhs के आसपास. Then you have to get a visa into this country. You have to get your flight tickets to go and come back. Then you will have to do certain, their accommodation is slightly not very expensive. Accommodation is 25,000 per month, including your transportation to the academy and back also. So accommodation is not super expensive, but food is slightly on the expensive side. So I would say roughly if you compare the difference between South African prices and Indian prices, you save about 8 lakhs. Which is also a big chunk of money for parents for taking loans, or 8 lakh is a big amount, but for some people, last webinar I was doing, there was somebody said that just to save 8 lakhs, why would I go to South Africa, because that country is not that good. But see, you cannot comment on others that for you it might be just 8 lakhs, but for someone 8 lakhs is a very big amount. So you have to take the call based on this. Timing South Africa also is 14 months. South Africa, if you go to a good school, again I always keep mentioning good school because you have to do your homework properly. I went to South Africa in January to look out, or basically to meet students of different schools to get the idea. Also I went to America also. I went to almost 30-40 schools in America and met the students there to come up with these conclusions and numbers, that how much time is it taking actually, or how much time does the schools offer. Because schools are all private schools. So America flight schools, out of competition, they offer you a quotation of sometimes 40 lakhs, 45 lakhs, including accommodation, which is impossible. They give you a time of 6 months. Again, 45 lakhs में impossible है ये आपको flight training कराना, because they give you quotations based on, how should I put it? Easy way to explain is that if you want to learn how to drive a car, an Indian regulation बोलता है कि आपको minimum 5 hours वो गाड़ी चलानी है before you give a test and we give you a license. तो 5 hours minimum के बेस्ड पे car companies will start giving you a quotation कि 5 hours का हमारा 10,000 रुपए है. But actual में this notice that nobody is able to do it in 5 hours. Some needed 10 hours of driving experience, some needed 20 hours. So they never give you the actual quotation. Majority of the times, at least. If somebody is telling you 45 lakhs, that means there is something wrong. They are given you quotation based on minimums. I specifically mention this here because people who have taken loans, it gets very difficult कि आप initially 45 lakhs का budget लेके flying के लिए भेज दो अमेरिका, and then वहाँ पे जाके पता लगता है budget is 65 lakhs, so it becomes very difficult for them to arrange another 20 lakhs. अमेरिका जा रहे हो 60 lakhs minimum का budget आपको लेके जाना पड़ेगा, उससे कम में नहीं होगा अमेरिका में. South Africa on the other hand, yes, 42, maximum 45 lakhs including everything. Accommodation, conversion, सब मिला के South Africa का cost goes to 45 lakhs, and that is why you save roughly 8 lakhs. Eventually, does not matter, as I mentioned, you do flight training from any country, you will have to get an Indian license. South Africa से भी आओगे तो South African pilot license मिलेगा, वापस आके Indian license convert कराना पड़ेगा, जिसके लिए same 9 hours की flying करनी पड़ेगी, so you will get Indian license also. Also when you go to these countries, America or this, you are a fresher. For them, they don't care. आपने DGCA written exam clear किए हुए हैं, उनको नहीं फर्क पड़ता इस चीज से. Similarly, कोई बाहर की कंट्री से इंडिया में आएगा और बोलेगा मेरे को पायलट बनना है, तो हम बोलेंगे सबसे पहले आप DGCA के written exam clear करो और फ्लाइंग करो. तो वो बोलेगा नहीं मैंने अपने कंट्री के written exam clear किए हुए हैं, तो वो बोलेंगे we don't care. We'll say that. We'll say आपको हमारी कंट्री के एग्जाम क्लियर करने हैं. Similarly, आप DGCA एग्जाम क्लियर करके जब उन कंट्रीज में जाते हो फ्लाइंग करने के लिए, तो you have to clear their written examinations also. But good thing is subjects are same. जो आपने DGCA के लिए पढ़ाई की है subjects, उन्हीं subjects से number of papers might differ. कहीं पे आपको 15-16 एग्जाम देने हैं, कहीं पे 3 एग्जाम देने होंगे, but subject same है. So same subjects के लिए you will write the exams there. Some people take it as a negative side कि मैंने इंडिया में भी पेपर पास कर लिए, वहां पे जाके फिर से मेरे को पेपर देने हैं पूरे साल. While flying only, you will be flying, simultaneously you will be giving examinations. Some people take it as an advantage. I always think of it as an advantage. It is a good side because आप जब वहां पे flying करके exams देते रहोगे तो your knowledge level will be fresh. Because as soon as you come back to India, आप airlines में apply करोगे और airline की vacancy होगी तो उसमें written exam होगा. तो your knowledge will be completely fresh and you will be more knowledgeable, and your chances of clearing that written examination will be much higher compared to someone जिनको 1.5 साल हो गया पढ़ाई किए हुए, जिन्होंने यहाँ से फ्लाइंग की थी, अगर पढ़ाई बंद कर दी है, एग्जाम DGCA एग्जाम के बाद सब पढ़ाई बंद करके फ्लाइंग में फोकस करने लग जाते हैं इंडिया में. तो अगर आपने नई पढ़ाई की है तो आपको वापस से वो सब पढ़ाई करनी पड़ती है. तो इट्स प्रोज एंड कॉन्स वो आपको खुद देखने हैं अपने लिए कि भाई शुड आई टेक इट एज एन एडवांटेज इन और डिसएडवांटेज, मर्जी है. इसके अलावा भी आपको कोई डाउट्स हैं फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग के बारे में तो यू कैन आस्क मी आफ्टर द वेबिनार इज ओवर. क्वेश्चन आंसर राउंड में आई विल बी हैप्पी टू हेल्प यू. बट डू नॉट आस्क मी अबाउट एनी पर्टिकुलर फ्लाइट स्कूल. क्या आप मेरे को कोई स्कूल का नाम लेके प्लीज डोंट आस्क मी. दिस इज अ जनरल वेबिनार, जेनरिक वेबिनार है विच विल बी पोस्टेड ऑन अदर प्लेटफॉर्म्स ऑल्सो. सो किसी स्कूल की अच्छाई या बुराई पब्लिकली आई डोंट वांट टू डू इट. दिस इज इंफॉर्मेशनल वेबिनार टू यू कि भाई क्या क्या होता है पायलट ट्रेनिंग में. किसी स्कूल के बारे में आपको इन स्पेसिफिक जानना है तो यू कैन कॉल मी पर्सनली एंड आई वुड बी हैप्पी टू हेल्प यू. बट हाँ, आई नो मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द स्कूल का knowledge about India, America and Africa because I have personally visited 30 to 40 flight schools in South Africa and almost 30 to 40 schools in America. So हर particular school की मेरे पास information है कि किस स्कूल में कितने students कहाँ पे कितना speed से flight training हो रही है या कहाँ पे कितना promises are being kept. These are few pictures I have attached for you to look at, basically Indian flight training. These are actually one few of our students who are getting, अभी last year आप ही की तरह webinar थी तो they joined, written exams clear किए, now they are flying in different schools in India. America. So that is one of the flight school in America, Miami, which has a fleet of 60 airplanes. So our students are getting trained there only in America. That's their accommodation there. These are certain pictures of South Africa. In South Africa, we are tied up with 3 different flight schools. A few of our students flying in South Africa in different schools. This was a cabin crew in Qatar Airways, and then he saved up his money and then eventually he wanted to become a pilot. The flight school in South Africa. Okay. General FAQs about flight schools. Where is flying better? We already discussed. Flying bigger picture देखोगे तो डजेंट मैटर, फ्लाइंग सब जगह सेम है. लेमन टर्म में अगर समझाना चाहूं तो देखो, एक स्विफ्ट गाड़ी है जो इंडिया में दी है किसी को सीखने के लिए, स्विफ्ट ही गाड़ी है जो साउथ अफ्रीका में दी है कि इसको सीखो, स्विफ्ट गाड़ी है अमेरिका में दी है इसको सीखो. इवेंचुअली इट मैटर्स कि आपके साथ इंस्ट्रक्टर कौन है सिखाने वाला और आप कैसा सीखते हो, बिकॉज ऑल दीज एयरप्लेन्स इंडिया में मैन्युफैक्चर्ड नहीं है, अमेरिकन मैन्युफैक्चर्ड एयरक्राफ्ट है, यूरोपियन मैन्युफैक्चर्ड एयरक्राफ्ट है जो हम यहाँ पे यूज कर रहे हैं. सेम ही एयरक्राफ्ट पे आप साउथ अफ्रीका में ट्रेनिंग करते हो, सेम एयरक्राफ्ट में आप अमेरिका में ट्रेनिंग करते हो. हवा में अब आप क्या कर रहे हो उस प्लेन में, नीचे कौन सी कंट्री है, डज नॉट इवेंचुअली मैटर. वो डिसीजन इस चीज पे बेस करेगा कि कितना एक्सपेंसिव है वहां पे, तो वो हु इज योर इंस्ट्रक्टर दैट मैटर्स. तो ओवरऑल देखा जाए तो फ्लाइट ट्रेनिंग में इतना डिफरेंस नहीं है, लाइसेंस मिलता है, इवेंचुअली यू कम बैक. बिगर पिक्चर देखना चाहो तो डजंट मैटर, शॉर्टर पिक्चर देखोगे छोटी छोटी चीजें तो हर जगह मिल ही जाएंगी आपको. Best job opportunity from which country? Equal opportunity. You get equal opportunity whichever country you have done flight training from. Why are prices different in different countries? So as we mentioned, India and America flight training prices are same. It's just that accommodation prices are expensive in America. That is why it goes up. South Africa mein prices are slightly on the cheaper side. Reason for that is their operational cost. Operational cost क्या होता है कि these airports, whenever I am flying an airplane, for example, I land in Mumbai airport, I have to pay landing fees, parking fees, all this to Mumbai airport. So similarly, जब ये flight schools होते हैं तो साउथ अफ्रीका में they are built at very small airports, तो इनके charges जो हैं वो काफी कम है, minimal है. वहाँ पे जनरल एविएशन काफी एक्सपैंडेड है, तो लैंडिंग फीस, पार्किंग फीस, मेंटेनेंस फीस, ये सब लेबर कॉस्ट, द इंस्ट्रक्टर्स फीस, जो इंस्ट्रक्टर आपको सिखा रहा है उनकी सैलरीज, इंडिया में सैलरीज काफी अच्छी हैं इंस्ट्रक्टर्स की, देयर सैलरीज आर नॉट वेरी हाई. सो ये ऑपरेशनल ओवरऑल कॉस्ट जो है वो डाउन चली जाती है साउथ अफ्रीका में. दैट इज वाई आपका जो CPL है चीपर साइड पे पड़ जाता है. हाउ मच टाइम डज कन्वर्जन फ्लाइंग टेक? कन्वर्जन फ्लाइंग जनरली टेक्स 2 weeks, maximum 1 month. So congratulations, at least on paper you are a CPL holder. So let's say you decide to join aviation today. So you did medicals, you cleared your DGCA written examinations, you chose a country to do flight training from, you did your flight training, then you go to DGCA and give them the documentation that I have cleared all the examinations that you asked for. I have finished all the flight training that you asked for and issue me a pilot's license. So the DGCA is going to issue you a commercial pilot license now. That okay, congratulations, this is your pilot license. You are eligible to work for the airlines now. So the keyword is eligible. So you are eligible to work for the airlines, you're not working for the airlines right now. So now you start applying for jobs. So इसमें ऐसा नहीं होता jobs के लिए you keep applying. Basically airline, you wait for the airlines to come out with vacancy. There are very limited number of airlines. Whenever they come out with vacancies, everybody knows. Software companies है ये सब तो हजारों हैं. तो आपको पता ही नहीं चलता किसकी वैकेंसी कहाँ आई है. मॉन्स्टर पे जाते हो कहाँ कहाँ इतनी वो है जॉब एप्लीकेशंस के लिए. But here you are on WhatsApp groups or you are in the community. Whenever these airlines come out with jobs, all the pilots know about it. Okay. ATPL एग्जाम का और इसमें मैंने ये ऐड कराया अभी लास्ट वेबिनार में नहीं था क्योंकि लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स केप्ट आस्किंग मी कि सर ये ATPL क्या है, ATPL क्या है. हमने कई बार सुना है कि ATPL चाहिए होता है एयरलाइन ज्वाइन करने के लिए. अभी एयरलाइन का पार्ट आगे डिस्कस करेंगे, बट ब्रीफली सो व्हेन यू ज्वाइन द एयरलाइंस यू ज्वाइन एज अ फर्स्ट ऑफिसर. फर्स्ट ऑफिसर बोलते हैं जूनियर पायलट को. वो फर्स्ट ऑफिसर से जब आपको कैप्टन बनना है फ्यूचर में, फर्स्ट ऑफिसर राइट सीट पे बैठते हैं एयरप्लेन में, कैप्टन लेफ्ट सीट में बैठते हैं. सैलरी में भी बहुत डिफरेंस होता है. तो जब आपको कैप्टन बनना है उसके लिए आपको एक लाइसेंस चाहिए होता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज ATPL लाइसेंस. उस लाइसेंस के लिए यू हैव टू क्लियर DGCA examinations again. So same subjects what you clear for CPL, similarly same subjects you clear for ATPL written examination. So ATPL consists of these exams. These are the 3 exams that you appear for ATPL theory exams. You are eligible to write these written examinations as soon as you have a CPL in hand. जैसे CPL exam license आ जाता है, you are eligible. So basically before even joining the airlines, before you are becoming a first officer, आप exams तो clear कर सकते हो. But to get this license, you need 1500 hours of experience that you will only get once you have worked with the airlines. तो आपको ATPL लाइसेंस की जरूरत नहीं होती एयरलाइन ज्वाइन करने के लिए. आप एयरलाइन ज्वाइन करते हो CPL लाइसेंस पे ही. इट इज योर चॉइस कि आपने एग्जाम्स क्लियर कर लिए हैं पहले तो भी बेनिफिशियल फॉर यू. एयरलाइंस माइट गिव यू बेटर चांस कि आपने एग्जाम्स भी क्लियर कर रखे हैं. सो यू आर अ सीरियस स्टूडेंट, यू हैव अ गुड नॉलेज, बट दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. आपको इवेंचुअली ATPL लाइसेंस मिलेगा जब आपने 1500 आवर्स की एक्सपीरियंस एयरलाइन में फ्लाइंग करते करते ले लिया है. ATPL लाइसेंस आ जाएगा, देन द एयरलाइन विल थिंक व्हेनेवर दे रिक्वायर they will call you and they will promote you to a captain. Okay, so now you wait for the vacancies, and once the airline vacancy open up, as soon as the airline vacancy is out, you apply for the vacancy and the airline is going to conduct a written exam. What is the difference between this written exam and the exam that you appeared in DGCA? Subjects are same. But in DGCA, remember, they were qualifying exams. 70% you wanted. Whoever got 70% cleared. But now when the airlines conduct these examinations, they become merit-based exam. Merit-based as in if airline wants 300 pilots and there are 1000 applications. So whoever is top in the merit, they are going to call them for the next round. So now this is a merit-based exam. There is no numbers fixed that you need to score this much. There have been incidences in 2000, earlier I am talking about the 2006, there was a huge shortage of pilots. Vacancies were 100, applications were only 50. So there was no merit. But later on, a lot of people did pilot training. Abhi uske bare mein there is a different slide. We'll talk how many people do pilot training in India in 1 year, how many licenses are issued. But what's the job scenario? So you do preparation, roughly you get 1 month period to prepare for this written examination. If you are preparing well ahead before that, like now we have students, even though there is no airline vacancy in the upcoming 3 months, but there are students here who are already preparing for the airline written examinations. So if you are preparing well in advance, chances of you getting up in the merit are much higher. But generally there is 1 month airline preparation. You do that airline preparation and get selected with the airlines. Okay. Once you are a part of the airlines, that means you have been selected, now you will have to do type rating. Type rating क्या है? Basically type rating is if you remember, I showed you a picture that when you do pilot training of 200 hours, you fly this small airplane. But when you work for the airlines, you have to fly this bigger airplane, which is passenger capacity of up to 200. So to fly this bigger airplane, you need extra training, and you need an endorsement on your pilot license that I am eligible to fly bigger airplanes also. So this is called as type rating, and once you do this only when you are selected with the airline. Preferable mode is that only. In question answer round we'll discuss about that in detail. But you do this once you have joined the airlines, and the airlines will send you for the type rating, because type rating is specific. So this is Boeing airplane. So if you have joined an airline which operates Boeing airplanes, you will do Boeing type rating. If you join an airline which operates Airbus airplane, you do Airbus type rating. Even though I have more than 7,000 hours of flying experience, I cannot fly an Airbus. I am not rated on Airbus. So the systems, the technology, everything is different inside an Airbus. Okay. So you do the type rating. Question is who pays for it and how much does it cost? Costing varies from airline to airline. Some airlines charge 15 lakhs for this, some airlines charge up to 25 to 30 lakhs for this. So totally dependent on which airline you get selected in. Who will pay for it? 2004 or 5 airlines were paying for this type rating. Later on, there was not much shortage of pilots. Airlines said you will pay for it, so pilots started paying for it. There was a period in between where airlines said airlines will pay for this, but we will deduct this from pilot's salary. Basically, eventually you are paying for it, but in installment from your salaries that you will be getting. But later on, eventually, right now, pilots are paying for it. So you have to pay for this type rating, the costing of anywhere between 15 to 25 lakhs, depending on which airline you get selected with. So your overall costing, you have to add the initial 50 lakhs that you spend, 50 to 55, and then this 15 to 25 depending on that. So on the best case, you can see 65 lakhs minimum, and it can go up to 75 lakhs depending on which airline you get selected with. Good thing is that you have to pay this only after you get a job. You are not spending this amount also before getting a job. Once you get a job, then only you spend this amount. This is a flight simulator in South Africa where we send our students. So basically, your type rating is done in these type of flight simulators. You don't actually fly bigger airplanes to get trained on. You fly in these hydraulics, these are set. So you go fly these, practice them, and then you get your type rating done. Congratulations. So you are working for an airline now. So basically, you got selected with the airlines. Airline sent you for type rating, and then you start flying for the airlines as a first officer. Let's talk about, so far you have been spending money. You spent money on medicals, spend money on, computer number is free. There is no charges for computer number. On DGCA ground classes, then you spent money on flight training, then you spent money in airline preparation, you spent money in type rating. So obviously you should know that how much money do you actually earn as airline pilots. Oh, okay. So before the money part, these are certain pictures they have attached. In last vacancy, the students that got selected, that got job with the airlines. So these are certain of our ex-students who are flying for the airlines right now. Okay. How many have they put? There are a lot of students which we have trained which are working, so we have selected few of the pictures. Okay. So salaries. This is just for a joke purpose this video was added. Otherwise don't take it seriously that that's how you get your salaries. Now initially when you join the airlines, you join as a trainee first officer, that you are under training with the airline. So once you have completed your type rating also, even then there is a lot of training. You will sit in the actual aircrafts, then your training will go on in the actual aircraft, even though there would be passengers at the back, but you are observing everything. There are 3 pilots in the cockpit at initially, that you are sitting in the observer seat, observing everything. Then you sit on to the right seat and there is a trainer sitting with you on the left. So you're learning a lot of things. So initially when you're under training, you get paid stipend depending on airline to airline. This is the least I have kept here. There are some airlines which pay up to 1 lakh as stipend. There are certain airlines which pay full salary also, up to 3 lakhs in the initial hiring only. So depends on airline to airline. Generally this is the least that you would expect at that time. But some major airlines are close to that 1 lakh figure initially when you are under training. You stay under training for about 3 to 6 months depending on airline to airline. Once you are released as a first officer, basically now you are a full-fledged pilot working with the airline and you fly from the right seat. First officer salary is anywhere between 2 to 3.2 lakhs per month. This is per month salary, okay. Here it is written 1 year. Basically they want to say that you stay as first officer for 1 year. But your salary is 2 to 3.2 lakhs depending on airline to airline per month. Obviously income tax is deducted from this now. So depending on whatever income tax slab you fall in, your tax is deducted. Mostly you fall in that 30% bracket. So you can take away 30%, which is a lot. Then you upgrade to senior first officer. Senior first officer. So you stay as a first officer for about 1 year to 1.5 years, or maximum up to 2 years. Then you become a senior first officer. Senior first officer salary 3 to 4.5 lakhs per month. Again tax deducted, and you stay as senior first officer for another 2 years. Then you get a chance to get promoted as a captain, and majority of the pilots, almost everyone, if you are a first officer, with time you will become a captain. Captain's salary is anywhere between 7 to 10 lakhs per month. Obviously tax will be deducted from this. So these are the salaries that you will be making. This is the major salary upgrade. After that, obviously, yes, you become captain ke baad you become an LTC, which is a trainer. Then you become TRI. Then you become examiner, all that. But all that we have not discussed because that is after 10 years of joining the airlines. Initial stage is this only. Now, after becoming a senior first officer, if you have worked for a few years, if you have worked in India close to 3 to 5 years, you get an option. Basically, Middle East, a lot of airlines hiring takes place. So Fly Dubai, Qatar, Emirates, all these airlines, they want experienced first officers. So they come out with vacancies, and if you wish to apply for those airlines at this stage, instead of taking your command here, you can go to Middle East and join those airlines. They will call you, they will book a ticket for you for an interview. They will call you to their country, they will take an interview, send you back to India. If you clear, they will call you back, and the salaries over there for first officers is close to 8 to 9 lakhs per month, and no taxes also. Maybe up to maximum 5% tax, I think, some places, but 8 to 9 lakhs for the first officer itself, and then eventually you become captain where the salaries are 12 to 14 lakhs per month, and obviously no taxes. But in these places, like if you are flying for Fly Dubai, you are staying in Dubai, your expenses are also high, okay? Don't forget that, because when you are staying in Dubai, your rent would be very high. So a lot of other things, but yes, personal call. This is completely a personal call whether you want to switch over to foreign airlines or if you want to stay in India, work as a captain. Okay? इसके बारे में ज़्यादा डिटेल अभी बात नहीं करते हैं. That is further down the line. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the question answer round. There is a star at the bottom, extra allowances as applicable. इसके बारे में not that important right now. Extra allowances, pilot also get allowances, as in if I am staying in Mumbai for 1 day, my base is Delhi. So in Mumbai, company will arrange a 5-star hotel, food, everything. But at the same time, they will pay me something extra for that particular day that I stayed outside of my hometown. So these are allowances. Other than that, when you're traveling as a passenger for duty, then you get paid extra. Some critical airfields you get paid extra. There are other allowances that are there. We'll not discuss that in detail here. Okay. difference between conventional and cadet program. So far whatever we've talked about is called as conventional program. Conventional program क्या होता है? That whatever we discussed so far, that you choose, you do DGCA exam, you choose your country where you want to do pilot training from, that you apply for the airline, get a job and get trained. This is called as conventional program. There is something called as cadet program. Cadet program क्या होता है? That after class 12th, airlines, what they do is, not all the airlines, only 2 airlines in India right now are doing this, that they say कि instead of spending 50 lakhs on your own and then applying with us, why not we take the interview on day 1 only. So after class 12th, the airline will take your interview directly. Interview as in, they will take a software test on certain motor skills, basically, that can you control the airplane. There's a simulator, you can say simulator test, some mental maths questions. While flying the simulator, there will be some mental maths questions, some English questions. So they'll test you on that, they'll conduct an interview for you and they will hire you. I should not say use the word hire you, they will give you a letter of intent. So you will be given a letter of intent by that company, okay, that you are our cadet now. So we will send you for flight training. So you go for flight training. Now airlines don't have their own flight schools. Only one airline, Air India, has tried to open it's not operational right now. This year end it should be operational, a flight school in Amravati, South India, not exactly South, but yeah, Amravati. So airlines will send you to any private flight school they are tied up with. Like the flight school that I mentioned, in conventional program you go through us to these flight schools. Airlines have also tied up with these flight schools that okay, we will send you our cadets, you train them and you send us back to us and we will send them for, again they will do the type rating and they will start working for us. Now obviously this sounds much better, that this is, everybody should do the cadet program, but this comes at a cost and the costing is anywhere between 1 crore starting and now it goes up to 1.4 crores depending on which cadet program you choose. When I say which cadet program, so for example if I talk about Indigo Airlines, they have 8 different tie-ups with different schools all over the world. So if you do your flight training with a flight school in India, so you get selected for the cadet in which you will be sent to Indian flight school, your costing would be slightly lesser side, 1 crore to 1 crore 10 lakhs. If you are sent to flight school in America, then your costing would be on the higher side. So this costing varies upon which cadet program you get selected in. And it is your choice which you want to apply. So you apply, Indigo's website, they will open up, okay, cadet applications open, you apply whichever cadet you want to go for, you can only apply for one. So there are 8 different programs, you can choose Thailand program, you can choose American program, Indian program, but eventually everybody gets the same job, they get the same salary. So on what basis should you decide? Doesn't matter, you can choose any cadet program. But yes, if you choose the cadet program which is in India, obviously a lot of people will apply for it because it is on the cheaper side. So your chances of getting selected slightly goes down. If you apply for an expensive cadet program, your chances of getting selected are slightly higher because not a lot of people apply for that cadet program. That's what I have noticed in the past few years. So in this, your job is almost guaranteed. When I say almost guaranteed, as in if your performance is very poor in these flight schools, then they might ask you to leave the cadet program, but that generally does not happen. Out of 1000, maybe 10 students, if we have to look at a number, are asked to leave the cadet program. Majority of the students are not asked to leave the cadet program, their performance is okay. If for example, you join the cadet program and you still have to write these DGCA exams, there is no omission. Regardless of conventional or cadet, you always write these DGCA exams. So if you are not able to write these DGCA exam clear these exams within 2 attempts, so then they will ask you to leave the cadet program. So just for that purpose, there are majority of the cadets that I have noticed, they clear the DGCA exams first and then join the cadet program, because then this restriction of 2 attempts does not apply to them. So if your exams are already cleared, then also your cadet program fees for some of the programs will be reduced. They will say, okay, your exams are already cleared. We don't have to prepare you for these exams now. So your cadet program fees is 2 to 3 lakhs less now because exams are already cleared. So majority people, to stay on the safer side, clear examinations, DGCA examination, simultaneously prepare for the cadet program and then apply for the cadet program. So by the time they crack the cadet program, DGCA exams would have been already cleared and then they can join the cadet program and they don't have to appear for DGCA exams. Some cadet programs say even if your exams are cleared, you still have to sit in our classes. You don't have to appear for exams because we have planned your batches in such a way that even if there is a batch of 30 people and there are 2 people whose exams are not cleared, we'll have to train you for 3 months. We'll teach you. The rest students don't have to write these examinations. These 2 will write and we'll send your batch for flight training because we have taken slots for your flight training after 3 or 4 months. So that's how it works. Now, which one is better? That is what parents ask me generally. Which one would you recommend? Should you choose cadet program or conventional? Okay, first of all, let's talk about the money part. So if you talk about the money part, I'll just turn this light off. So if we talk about just the money part here, this is much cheaper. You spend, including type rating, close to average if I look at 70 lakhs. Higher side bit can go 80 lakhs if you have done flight training from America, but otherwise I do it from India, I would say 50 lakhs and then 15 lakhs for type rating, 65. Let's say you're getting selected with an airline which charges 25, then also it will reach 75 lakhs. So 75 lakhs is the budget right now for this, and then this is approximately 30 to 35 lakhs more expensive. But the advantages, you have almost job guarantee from day one. First of all, I have heard parents, they ask me that airlines are trying to make money from this by charging 35 lakhs extra. I would say that is not true. Airlines ke liye this 35 lakhs is not that big amount of money. They are dealing in thousands of crores. It is the reason for this to be expensive is the amount of logistics that go into preparing all this, sending students for flight training. Also, they don't choose flight schools that are cheaper. The quality of flight schools that they choose are very, very expensive. So even the cadet program Indigo has in South Africa, 43 Air School I think. So even there the fees is very high as compared to the other flight school where our students are getting trained with their fees is 40 lakhs. But the Indigo cadet program, the school that they have chosen is almost close to 60 lakhs. So the flight schools that they have chosen are good schools, they are expensive schools. So eventually if you do your maths, you will see per student they are making 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, but think of it this way, these are bigger airlines, very big airlines, they don't look at these numbers, their actual expenses go up to that point. Now if you ask me which one to choose, let's talk about this first. Any day this is better. Cadet program you should choose if money is not a problem. If money, you can arrange this funds, cadet program no doubt is the best way to join the airlines because you have letter of intent from day one and you can join the airlines without any doubt. But the disadvantage you will have in this cadet program, first disadvantage is you have to pay this whole amount within installments but within a period of 1 year. So एक साल में आपको ये सारा का सारा amount pay करना है and then it will take almost 2.5 to 3 years before minimum, before you are released as a pilot with the airline and start making salary. Earlier they used to pay from day one only as stipend देते थे कुछ आपको cadets को, but वो भी they have stopped now after COVID. But now you getting paid after 2.5 to 3 years. So downside, you have to pay a lot of money in the first year itself and then whenever you are released you start getting paid. Once you have joined the airlines, conventional program pilot and cadet pilots, there is no difference. Salaries are same, promotion is same, everything. Once you are inside the company, everything is same. It's just the initial training that is different. Also, now talk about conventional program. What is the advantage and disadvantage? Well, the disadvantage is that you don't have a letter of intent from day one. So you have to spend 50 lakhs initially, get a license and then apply for airlines. Yes, the typewriting money you will pay only after getting a job. But you are paying this 50 lakhs over a period of close to 1.5 years in installments. And the rest 20 to 25 lakhs you will pay only after you get a job. So money wise you are slightly, there is not a lot of burden on you. That 1.5 year, 50 lakhs you have to pay in installments. Overall time to finish this conventional program, good side if you see 6 months DGCA exam, 1 year to 1.5 year finish your flight training and then get a job. So overall time reaches this only. So if somebody is telling you, I have seen boards somewhere outside also, that become a pilot in 6 months, start earning in 6 months. All that is equivalent to learn how to speak in English in 2 weeks. It is impossible. You're going to work for an airline, you're going to fly a 1,000 crore jet. So it is going to take time. So it is going to be at least minimum to finish the course 1.5 to 2 years. But by the time you get the job with the airline, you start flying and you start earning salaries. It is going to be anywhere between 2.5 to 3 years minimum before you start getting paid with the airlines. So time wise is also same. Another thing for conventional program students who are choosing, I chose conventional program only. My younger sister also conventional program, and there are 8 airline pilots at the academy here. All of them are conventional program only. Reason, conventional program, only 2 airlines have cadet program right now in India, and the other airlines do not have cadet programs. So they are hiring only with conventional. So even if you have done conventional, you are not unsafe. Your job is not like it's not secured. Also these 2 airlines, all their hiring process is not done by cadets. Close to 30 to 40% of their hiring is done by cadets. Rest 60% of their hiring is also through conventional program only. They are not able to fulfill their requirements of pilots just by having cadets. They always hire just the minimal number that is required, and the rest they hire from conventional only. So if I look at a figure that, let's say for example, overall in India 1,000 pilots are getting hired in 1 year, out of that I would say 300 ke aspas would be cadets, maximum 350, 400, and rest 600 to 700 pilots are through conventional program only. So cadet, but those 300, 400 have job guarantee almost from day one. Here you have to compete your way up. So we will look at the numbers that, let's say 700 people are getting hired through conventional program, how many are applying? So that we will also discuss in further slide. I hope I have covered everything about cadet and conventional. The hiring process, what exam do you do, what software do we use to prepare the students, or what software do you get, that is not required in this particular webinar. That we'll talk about when you actually come in here or whenever you're planning to join as a cadet. Okay, it just says basically whoever has chosen cadet program, you can do cadet preparation and the DGCA exam preparation simultaneously. This is just a small simulator that we had set up. This is the cadet program preparation that was going on. Group discussion task is there, so students are given topics. These are software we prepare them on for different types of cadet programs that are there. This slide we are not going to talk about. This just talks about the fees that we charge for cadet program and all that. This we can talk about when you specifically decide to start, because all these fees structure and everything, even the fee structure that I mentioned for flight school, they keep changing. So the flight school fees that I mentioned is the current fees. Maybe you want to start after 1 year, the fees might be different at that time. In this we are going to discuss the job scenario in the Indian aviation market in the upcoming years. So generally, if you search, if you put it on Google, that how is the aviation industry future looking in India, you will always read the positive news. When I wanted to become a pilot, whenever I used to read a news, it will show 20,000 pilots required in so many years, that's next 5 years, 10,000 pilots required in 1 year. So that positive news always tells you, okay, I should join this aviation career. But all these positive news are, I should not say spread, published by private firms which are into this business industry. So we are going to talk about, I cannot give you exact figures. I can discuss with you that what are the orders in India that we have, how is the aviation market looking, and what are the hurdles that we are facing in order to expansion. So with that you can decide. So right now in India, if I look at numbers, close to last year or last to last year, 1600 licenses are being issued every year, pilot licenses. Now I am seeing a trend that more students are doing, so maybe this number can go up to 2000 in the coming years, that 2000 pilots licenses are being issued every year. So out of that 2000, if you take out 300-400 for the cadets also, so close to 1500 ka figure we can keep in our hand, that 1500 pilot licenses are issued every year. That means 1500 pilots are going to be ready to get a job in 1 year. So we have to look how many jobs are coming per year. That is what we are trying to break down here. So if you see, right now in India, I have just put up 3 major airlines here. Otherwise there are other charter services in India. There are small regional airlines that are starting, Fly Big hai, और भी काफी Air Kerala, I think Dama, Al something, there is another airline. There is Shankh Air that is starting operations. There are a few airlines, but these airlines are not very big right now. So they have very few airplane orders. Cargo airlines are there, small Avcon is there, and Blue Dart is there. So they have like maybe 5 aircraft, 6 aircraft like that, but the list that I have put is just basic, the bigger airlines that we have in operation right now. So we've got Indigo right now they have 433 aircrafts in operation. Air India close to 300 aircrafts, and Akasa has 30 aircraft. So overall, if I average it out, we have close to 800 airplanes which are in operation in the Indian aviation market, which are used for scheduled operators. Scheduled operator basically are airlines. Non-scheduled operators भी होते हैं, non-scheduled होते हैं जैसे charter company की, you can call them anytime, their timing is not fixed. So scheduled operators are airlines. Average number is 800 airplanes are in service right now. Every airplane, one airline hires close to 14 pilots. Okay, so if I want to open an airline, I have 10 airplanes, I will hire close to 140 pilots. So I will have 140 pilots with me. So that is what the numbers the airlines keep. They can manage with 120 also, 12 pilots per airline, per aircraft, but average number they keep is 14 only. Now let's look at the orders they have placed in the next coming 10 years. So Indica has placed almost 922 more airplanes on order. Air India has placed 514 more airplanes on order. Akasa has more 196 airplanes on order. So in total 1632 airplanes are in order. They have ordered them for purchase that they want, because India is the third largest domestic market for aviation right now. So right now 800 airplanes hai, and they are trying to get it to 2400 airplanes in the next 10 years. So if I do the simple maths, 1600 airplanes, so it is 3 times 1600, you can just multiply it by 14. कितना हो जाएगा? Can someone do the math for me? कितना आ रहा है? Calculation कर लो यार. So I would say even if it is 10 aircrafts, so
it's
then
22,400.
So how much is it?
22,400.
Okay. So it says 22,400. So now 22,400 pilots required in the next 10 years. So I would say close to 2,000 pilots required per year. And that is in fact higher than the number, or in fact very close to the number that many licenses are being applied every year. So it looks very positive on paper. However, there are certain hurdles that is stopping us to reach that number. अगर ये सब कुछ जैसा इन्होंने प्लान किया है, if it works out that way, I am sure everybody should get a job, conventional हो या cadet हो, because the number of licenses issued are 2000 per year. and jobs are also 2000 per year. But इसमें nobody caters for, whenever they are publishing these reports for pilot jobs, nobody caters the airplanes that we are going to replace ek to. So Indigo, if they have 433 aircraft right now which are flying, they have to replace some of them. That next 10 years mein, these airplanes will not be flying with this airline, not all of them. Some of them will be replaced, basically they will be sent back. They will induct new ones. So there are replacements also, even in this. They will have to replace, because these overall world average is 14.8. World में 15 years से पुराना aircraft average जो है, that is 15 years का span. Similarly, Air India will also have some replacement aircrafts. कि अभी current aircraft भेजेंगे and then it will be fulfilled by this. So this 1600 airplane is not the correct figure when we are calculating this pilots per year required, because some of them are replacement airplanes. Next hurdle is airplane delivery. These airlines, they placed the order, Air India, CASA, they were hoping that they will get deliveries. Their aim was to get 70 aircrafts by the end of 2025, but they have only reached 30 right now, and they are expected to reach 35 by the end of this year. So the rate of delivery is not as fast as it is expected. If they get it, obviously we are going to meet these numbers, but airplane deliveries are very slow as compared to what the airlines want. So you see where the gap is being created, but the airlines want the aircraft because we have the capacity. We have the capacity to expand. There are close to 157 operational airports in India right now, and the plan is to bring them to 350 to 400 in the next 15 years, I think. Yeah, by 2045, 15 to 20 years, that they want to double the number of airports. Whichever city you are living in, you must have noticed there are other airports opening up nearby. But that is the plan. Whenever you plan something, I have noticed that you are never able to meet the exact numbers. But if you don't plan something, you will not be able to reach even closer to it. So if they have planned 400 airplanes, 400 airports, they might be able to reach at least 300. Similarly, aircraft deliveries, अभी तक इंडियन एविएशन में आज तक 800 एयरप्लेन ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं. Their plan 10 years में make it 3 times, very optimistic. If they do it, very good for us pilots, job aspirants, but I don't see it happening. So if I have to give you some numbers, and again this is my personal experience, and this is correct. There is nothing wrong in this. You can check on the news, but all this calculation is just my personal calculation. If tomorrow these calculations don't meet, don't say ki I said it. I am just sharing my experience, that what I see. Like, I don't want you to take a call just based on these reports that India need 20,000 pilots in 1 year. I am trying to tell you that, to show you the negative side also, that whenever you're taking a decision, always compare that, okay, replacement aircraft, delivery problems, and there could be other issues also. So my estimate says that there would be requirement of at least 1000 pilots per year in the next 10 years. 1000 में से आप 300 to 400 cadet pilots निकाल लो, तो every airline, what I feel, every year there will be minimum 600 to 700 vacancies minimum that would come up in the next upcoming 5 to 10 years. How many people are getting licenses? Close to 1500 to 2000 per year, but उसमें से आप 500 cadet निकाल दो, तो 1500 में से when you sit in for the airline exam, recently the 2 big exams that happened, in one there were 1500 applicants that sat for that written exam, and in one of that exam there were 1700 pilots that sat in that written exam. So there is competition, but if you compare it to NEET or any other field, competition is obviously less. So if you are choosing the conventional program, I think if you are above 80% student in class 12th, you will not have problems cracking these airline written examination. You will get into the merit. If you are below 80% student, then either you choose the cadet program, and there is no fixed number 80% ka, I am just giving you that number. that if it is below 80%, that means either you have to work harder to compete with the scholars, or you choose the cadet program. Like I did not have 80% in class 12th. I told you I was not very studious at that time. I was busy playing with my friends, volleyball, cricket. But yes, later on when I got into the profession, I have been studying and I fought my way up, and I was number 4 in merit when that airline written exam took place because I was studying. I don't think there's anything else that I wish to discuss from this with you. If you have doubts, we'll talk in our doubt session. But yes, I have given you fair numbers here, that conventional also, do not get demotivated, you will not get a job. Sometimes the wait period might be more. Like I know few of our students, that 2 of our students, in fact, as soon as they finished their flight training, within 1 month they got a job. And few students, they could not clear the first vacancy, they got into second vacancy, somebody cleared the third vacancy. Basically, you don't get selected in one airline, you wait for the next vacancy to come out. So some of them had to wait for 1 year also. So it depends on when you get selected, how much consistency is required. If you are continuously studying, eventually you will crack the written examination. If you give up, then you won't. Okay. So these are scholarships. Students ask me that, are there any scholarships available? Earlier there used to be a lot of scholarships available from government side also for reserved candidates, but now there are no scholarships available in the market. Sometimes these corporate companies, for their corporate social responsibility means they have to spend some certain amount in social works. So like 2 years ago, Hero Honda came up with that they are going to sponsor 20 female pilots for their pilot training. Right now there is no such scholarship that is available. That is, if it comes out, I will update on the groups or anywhere, but right now there is no scholarship. Yes, we launched a scholarship, but that is only to motivate our students to keep them competing between each other. But it does not cover your flight training. That scholarship amount is not that high. We are not such a big institute, not a big organization where we can sponsor crores of your training. In this scholarship, we have given up to 11 lakhs of scholarship for our academy toppers only. However, in last 6 months, there have been various instances where our students were all India toppers, they got separate scholarships, but in our class, whoever is top 5, they get up to 11 lakhs of scholarship distributed between them. Like these students, he was all India topper in technical, meteorology. So this year it is 11 lakhs. How to arrange funds? There is not much I can discuss about this, but this I created based on the previous webinar experience. Students asked me this question, that how should I arrange funds? One is self-funding. Obviously your parents fund it directly. The other, bank loans. Yes, bank loans are available for this particular field, but these are not collateral free loans. Collateral free क्या होता है, जैसे IIM वगैरह या कुछ और आप ज्वाइन करते हो, तो वहाँ पे sometimes just based on your studies, the banks can give you loans. But in this particular field, banks don't give you loans based on that. They want some collateral. Collateral as in कि आपके parents का कुछ property documents or their ITR should be strong, their CIBIL should be strong. Based on that, they will give you this educational loan, and then you can use. I took an educational loan for this. So scholarship we already discussed. Yes, there are other options available after CPL. So if I have finished my CPL and I don't have 25 lakhs to give to the airline to do type rating right now, I can work as a flight instructor. I also worked as a flight instructor, where you teach new students how to fly these small airplanes. Your salaries are also good. You make money, and then eventually you can move to airlines. Or let's say there are no vacancies coming up from airlines. Sometimes, like last 3-4 months, there have been no airline vacancy. Next 3 months, there is no airline vacancy. Before that, in 1 year, almost 1.5 years, there were 8 times airlines came out with vacancies. So that's what I was mentioning, that you might have to wait for some times. So you can join charter companies. Charter companies operate small airplanes, so you can go fly for them. Obviously, they also charge for type rating. That's a different story. So these are the different options that you have that you can pursue after CPL. Why PPA? Okay, वैसे तो this webinar was about giving you just pilot information, but brief introduction about this academy. This academy was started by a lot of airline pilots got together, and they have more than 10 years of teaching experience and flying experience, so they wanted to give the practical knowledge as well to the students. So they have airlines instructors from all different airlines who are working here. These are few of our previous batches. This is from our cricket tournament. Every month we have cricket tournament between instructors. Next batch, wrong information, previous webinar slide. So 7th July batch is already started. Next batch will be in August, first week. This is our previous academy that we used to have, but the students, number of students, the results that we got was too high, so the number of students increased. So we could not fit them all there, so we had to change this academy, and this is the new academy. Even this has been there for almost more than a year now. So this is the new place that we have. So generally we don't teach students in such big batches. Our batches are approximately 25 to 30 students per batch. Okay. So now that is the end of our webinar, and I would like to add something more in this. Graduation. A lot of students or parents ask me that how important is graduation in aviation, or is it mandatory to have a graduation degree, or should I have a backup as your graduation degree? So first of all, think of it this way, that it is not required. It is not a requirement to have a graduation. Even if you have a graduation, like I have a graduation, I did it through distance learning. So if you have a graduation, it is not going to help you in any of the promotions in the airline. So I am also making the same salary as compared to somebody who has just class 12th, or even if somebody has done PhD and he has the similar number of hours that I have, he will also have the same salary. So in our profession, our progress is judged not by the graduation or the degrees that we have, is judged by the number of hours of experience that I have. So graduation is not mandatory. However, yes, a lot of students do graduation from distance learning. So there is something called as BSc Aviation. So we also have tied up with a few institutions through which students can simultaneously get prepared for these DGCA and flying schools, and simultaneously their distance learning graduation is going on. So that option is available, but yes, that is only for your personal satisfaction, that you want to do, that I want to have a graduation degree as well. If there are certain parents who recommend you that you should have a backup and you should do full graduation, I always say listen to the parents, but how shall I put it and not be sounding bad also, that yes, you shouldn't, when you use the word backup, that I would not recommend that you use your primary 4 years of your age at this stage just to study something that you want to keep it as a backup. You should give these primary years of your age for something that is going to be primary in your life. Backup you can create on the side. So that's what I think, but again everybody can think in different ways. So that's it from my side for this webinar. I wish I could add more value to it, and if there is anything that you feel as I should add to the next webinar, you can let me know in the comments, and I would definitely like to speak about it.